Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mike Rosehart Show. There are three things you need to be doing right now to prepare for this recession, to survive this recession, to ensure that you make it through the next year, because things are going to be very tough financially for a lot of people if they aren't already. If you don't already know and you live under a rock, you probably I don't know, you wouldn't even be on this video, but truth be told, you would know that there is currently a major virus going around, the Corona COVID virus. Oh no! What does it mean for our economy? What is happening right now in the world? And what do you do with your money? So how do you invest your money? Hey everyone, welcome onto the show. We're gonna go live here and talk about some things we have to do. I put this in the thumbnail and I'll explain what I meant by the symbolism behind this in a second here. But the idea is that we need to act. We need to act quickly. Before I talk about what you need to do with your money, first things first, look after your health. Before all else, you need to make sure that you're washing your hands. You need to make sure that you're getting adequate sleep, that you're getting adequate exercise, you're taking care of your body, and you're not putting yourself in any undue it's what you call risk would be the word. Not that I think the coronavirus is of high risk, not that I think the coronavirus is actually deadly for anyone of my demographic. If you are under the age of 30 right now and relatively healthy, don't have any pre-existing medical conditions, such as like a cancer or like a really bad lung issue or a heart issue or something like that, you're probably just fine. And I still stand by what I said last week and the week before that, in that I don't think coronavirus is very scary, but it has economic effects. We are going into a recession. We are seeing the greatest pullback of, I guess, the last 12 years. The last 12 years of the largest bull market we've ever seen. We're seeing a huge pullback. So a lot of things are changing economically as a result. And I'm more fearful of how people are reacting and how it's affecting the economy than I am of the actual virus. Unless, of course, you're like 80 years old or you have pre-existing medical conditions, in which case the common cold is also something to be fearful of. But anyway, before I go any deeper into that, I think that this is majorly overblown. I think that it says video is not working. Liam, I don't know what's going on with the video. Is anyone else having the same challenges here? Is my internet actually glitching out? I don't know. I have Bell internet, and we have to have a technician come by today and work on our internet, but they did not show up because of the virus. So I guess people are still connected. People can still see. I'll pause for a second and let the video catch up if there is in fact a glitch. People are saying it's working fine, so it must be your internet and not mine. That said, I am looking to upgrade my internet package, and the technician did not show up today. I suspect someone called in to work sick and tried to get off because of the COVID virus. It's a good reason to not work. We're going to get into that in a second about people not working. It's a good excuse to not produce. It's a good excuse to not save. It's a good excuse to, yes, is the answer to that question. Just popped up. And it's a good excuse to do a lot of things right now. And I think that it can be a good excuse to change your lifestyle, to reset. It can be a good excuse to spend time with family and things like that. There are a lot of really good excuses for this virus, and a lot of things it's doing good, but it's also doing a ton of bad for the economy. We're going to get into that in just a second. But I'm just going to quickly read the comments. Hey, Ellie, good to see you on. William, good to see you on. You're a regular. Great that you jumped on. Sarah Finance, appreciate the love there. Benefit Studio, finally catching it live. Awesome. Glad you're able to make it on. Can you tell us how these mortgage deferrals are going to work? I can speak at a high level to what I've heard is happening on social media. And again, I don't have a ton of expertise on this. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and that is my overall understanding. I'll get into the depths of that in a second. Before I get into the rest of the questions here, I do want to jump in and say this. I want to say that the three things you need to be doing, and if you don't watch any of my videos over the last 2 years, then, in fact, if you watch any of my videos in the last 2 years, you know exactly what I'm going to say. And it's more true now than it has ever been. I'm going to go into depth in a second on a lot of it and talk about specific maybe stock picks or sectors that I'm really bullish on, what I would do if I had $1 million cash, what I would do right now if, and several sectors. I'm going to talk about real estate. I'm going to talk about the stock market in general, some stocks that I like. And I'm going to talk about going forward, what I think is going to happen, because none of us know. Let's be clear here that there's a lot of uncertainty, and that is the scariest thing, is that there is uncertainty. And uncertainty is the scariest thing. Risk is the scariest. Risk isn't scary. You can manage risk. Uncertainty is scary. But risk is not scary. You can manage risk. You could manage uncertainty too, but it's much more difficult to manage in these times. But the three things that I'm going to get to first off, and you already know if you watch all my videos, what do I say at the end of every single video? There are three things. Of course, your health is most important, but I don't think this, mildly worse than a common cold version of, and by the way, I know lots of people who've gotten pneumonia, which is worse in my opinion, and been just fine. I think I've even had pneumonia a few times. It's not a big deal. It doesn't usually kill healthy people. But what am I gonna say, guys? You already know, someone's already dropped it in the comments. There's three things you need to be doing, more important now than ever before. You need to be spending less. You need to be earning more. And you need to be maximizing the returns on the difference more now than ever before. This is the era, right? When you maximize your returns, this is the era when people become millionaires and billionaires. I am going to triple my net worth in the next 3 years. It is going to be a great time. I've been craving this since 2008. If you have any liquidity at all, or any ability to access cash, or any ability to refinance your properties, or any ability to get liquid and invest, now is an amazing time to do it. We'll talk about dollar cost averaging a little bit here. We're gonna talk about some specific strategies in all three of those categories. But on this channel, those are the three things that I always talk about. And I love real estate still now, just as much as I always have, but there is a special place in my heart, I think, during this time for investing some money in the stock market, where I have been extremely divested from the stock market over the last 3 years. You're going to see me get very heavy in the financial markets. You're going to see me invest in maybe some individual stocks, maybe some different indexes, some different sectors that I was shying away from because I thought there was some overvaluation. I don't think that is the case in some sectors right now. Now, if you're looking at restaurants or tourism, I think it's too soon to tell. I think you should stay away from those industries. I'm going to get into that in a second, why I don't think you should be bullish on those industries, but there are areas where I think that you could go ham, so to speak. But let's go back. Let's rewind. Before I get into the question and answers, like I do every week, let me just pull back and say this. Now is the most important time ever to have a clear head, to be, I think, even if the financial collapse gets worse, the best thing you could possibly do right now is to ratchet down your spending. It's easy not to go out, by the way, when restaurants are all closed. Here in Canada specifically, most of our restaurants are closed. Most of our areas where you can go spend money are closed, like shopping malls. That is a good opportunity, by the way, to start new habits. Now is a good time if you have a bad habit of stopping at the mall every day on the way home from work. Well, you're probably not going to work right now because you're working from home, and you're probably not going to the mall because it's closed, especially in Canada. I don't know where you live, but most places in the world are shutting down, right? That's something you got to think about. So one, it's a fresh start, new habits. Spend less. Going into a recession, every dollar you can save and then therefore invest now is going to pay you 300 to 400%. Every dollar you can average into a stock now, you can dollar cost average, is a really good dollar invested. It's probably $2, $3, $4. If you could ratchet down your spending $10,000 or $20,000 right now, that would have huge impacts on your overall trajectory to retiring early. And if you're going into retirement right now and you just had your net worth slashed like I have, I've had days lately where I've been logging on and seeing 5 and 6 figure losses. I've had 6 figure losses. And it's painful. If you're there with me, feeling those losses on your stock portfolio, feeling those losses on maybe some currency plays that you have. Maybe you've borrowed money or you've invested in different markets, and between the US and Canada, Canadian currency is in the shitter. It's terrible right now. Our dollar is not strong. We are a commodity rich country that relies heavily on exporting things like oil, which are doing very terribly right now. Sort of really bad timing amidst the coronavirus. By the way, I just got a super chat for $50 from William. I love that. TY for helping me get the 3rd place in Detroit. Renta, remember the Steel I-beam. Curious if you go in the property market, stock market in the next year and how hard it will be to get the property loans. By the way, if you super chat, I appreciate it a ton. In this time, the YouTube channel is not making very much. If you could do me one favor, watch some of my videos, like the old stuff, or share it with a friend. Your friend, 1, will benefit because they will be better financially than they were. And 2, it will help the algorithm a little bit. I don't know if it's because I've been talking about the coronavirus in my videos. In the last 4 videos, I've mentioned it like well over 20 times. I don't know what it is, but the YouTube algorithm has been like not promoting my videos at all. And not that I make a ton of content anymore anyway, beyond the weekly live stream that I do on the Mike Rosehart Show. But my videos have been getting slammed for like lack of views. I watched in the last 3 weeks, some of my most popular videos go from, let's just say in general, my channel gets like 2,000 views a day, something like that. It's down to like 500 to 700 views a day. So I've seen like a 400% drop in viewership. My loyal subscribers are still watching my weekly show. I know the people that are watching consistently continue to watch, and I appreciate you guys. But for some reason, the algorithm is not kicking me any new viewers that are not subscribers. Very few. That being said, there are some who are searching this specific topic, and you're finding me. But anyway, share the love. I appreciate that. To answer your question, because you super chatted and because you supported the channel, you get your question answered first above all else. I appreciate the super chat. It means a lot. Okay, so by the way, congratulations. The first part of that, congratulations. That's amazing. I'm curious on your view on the market. So very interesting, right? We've seen in the last, I guess even since last week, I guess on Sunday, what happened on Sunday? So Sunday, the Federal Reserve in the United States dropped another 75 basis points to 0. They've dropped the interest rates further yet. But in Canada, some interesting developments have happened. Canada called an emergency 50 basis point drop. Bank of Canada jumped out and said 50 basis point drop, sort of a match. We didn't quite match exactly the United States. But they did this in the United States. The Federal Reserve, the Feds did this to basically make a bit of quantitative easing to make things easier for the economy. They've basically informed banks they should lend by decreasing the interest rate. They've said to business owners, they've said to entrepreneurs, they've said to real estate investors, go borrow, keep the economy moving. They've enticed people who are consumers to spend, lower the interest rate so that people spend more in the economy. And people are fearful in times of uncertainty, and so people hoard their liquidity. They hold their money close to their chest. They buy things like real estate. They buy things like gold. So I'm going to talk in a second about what I think that does to real estate. Low interest rates and uncertainty in the market leads to typically growth in real estate. However, we are seeing certain sectors within real estate be beat up very heavily. Commercial real estate is being destroyed right now. I would short commercial real estate if I was going to short any of the real estate markets. So if you have commercial real estate, just be careful. I think that the retail space is out the window. I think that some of the industrial stuff is even a bit scary right now. Some entrepreneurial, I guess, not startups, but like small businesses being hammered in a big way due to some of the closures, right? Now that doesn't mean the logistics companies or companies like Amazon aren't doing really well to take advantage and capitalize on this opportunity, but there are a lot of businesses that are in fact being destroyed. So it's something to think about, definitely something to think about as you're going into this recession. How it will play in. I don't know for sure what is going to happen. I know that if you're in the Airbnb space, so you're renting real estate out on a short-term basis on Airbnb, right now you're being destroyed. I have properties that are just being decimated. And the figures I used to get, the figures I'm getting now. We have cancellations, a ton of them. The only real bookings that I'm getting right now are people who want to self-isolate or people who are just like visiting to take care of family. So most of the tourism and travel, dead. Most of our universities and colleges have all shut down for till the end of the year, or until the end of the semester, at least at this point. So we're looking till like May 1st. That's scary. That means that students have all got out. There's a bunch of rent relief programs here going on in Canada specifically where people are not having to pay rent. They put out rules where people can get out of paying rent or delay paying rent. Not get out of it, but delay paying it. There are 0 evictions being allowed right now. So even if you have a tenant who hasn't paid rent in 7 months and you finally got your eviction order here in Canada, you can't even bring the order to the sheriff. It's against the law. They put a mandate to put a stay on all eviction orders temporarily. And the tribunal is shut down except for an emergency basis. So there is no eviction process at all right now. Everything's crazy. Here, specifically in Canada, things are crazy. In the United States, we're seeing very similar things happen. Long-term rentals are fine. If you hold long-term rentals, you have like a triplex, you've rented out, it's not on Airbnb, and you've pivoted back to renting the units out, you will be fine. People will be hurting for a little while. I think there is definitely that piece that people are, there is a lack of liquidity when people start losing their jobs, and there's some layoffs that are going to come. 6 months from now, we're going to feel the ramifications of a lot of the financial decisions that are made now. So people will be fired, people will be laid off, and then those tenants won't be able to pay rent, or those people might have to sell their house. But we're not seeing that right away. Most people are just quarantining. So we're seeing not a huge sell-off in real estate. We are seeing people, sitting back and saying to themselves, maybe where they were really bullish before, they're holding on. So I have investors who are following me right now who want to work with me and say, Mike, I got $1 million in cash. I want to lever up. Interest rates are lower than they've ever been. It's a great time to cash flow in real estate, but hold on. Give me 2 weeks. I'm in isolation right now. I just want to wait and see what happens. So what I think is happening is less transactions. There's less volatility in the real estate market right now because what I'm seeing is that there's not a ton of people who are like jumping, get their house ready to list it and having open houses, having people run in and out of their house. Most people don't want to have an open house right now. Most open houses are getting canceled right now. So people don't want people going through their houses. So you're not seeing a ton of new inventory pop up of people wanting to sell their home. And you're also not seeing a ton of people who want to go through houses right now and buy property. And even if they are, you're not seeing those people wanting to overpay right now. So there's just less, I guess there's less supply and less demand. So we're just seeing sort of a flattening, sort of a calming effect. We're not seeing any major sell-off. In the stock market, you can just post your stocks for sale and you have instant liquidity. In real estate, it takes time. We're talking months and months before you have liquidity from a refinance or a sale. And so the nature of real estate lends itself well to, I think, a more smooth effect over a recession. And so that is a boon overall to your real estate investing strategy. It's a great thing about real estate. The thing that I love is that in general, you have good cash flow over a long period of time with real estate. I only buy real estate, and I feel like when you're thinking about, I only buy real estate that cash flows is the point I wanted to make. And if you're buying real estate that cash flows right now, and you put it on Airbnb and you're making more, you can still pivot and put it on long-term rental and rent it out and still be cash flow positive. I never bought any property that, I don't tend to, in Canada, I haven't bought any property that just needed to be on Airbnb. Now I do have a property in Orlando that I do believe in long-term, 3 to 6 months from now, but it is being hammered right now and I'm getting destroyed on our mansion property there. Actually, we have a booking right now. So we're lucky in that we do have some existing bookings and we're surviving, but there aren't a lot of new bookings in the funnel. Everyone's sort of holding off and saying, let's wait, let's see. Disney's closed. I don't know what's going to happen. When are things going to reopen? We don't want to book our trip until we have confirmation. And so this uncertainty leads investors to hold on to cash. And that uncertainty could be your benefit. If there's a deal out there that's underlisted, something that's priced not very well, and all offers considered on a certain date, you could likely jump in and score a deal because other investors have cold feet. Others' uncertainty could be your opportunity. Others' uncertainty could be your opportunity. So I don't know what's going to happen with the market. To give you like my honest answer, in markets like Detroit, I think that there is, so Detroit has a lot of manufacturing, right? And in times of, if you guys know like the general, like the war acts that they put in, I forget what it's called, but Canada and the United States both have them, where they can take over factories and the word's not coming to me. Someone jump in the comments and give me the wording, but or the verbiage. But the idea is that they can basically take over these factories and put them to work to produce things that we need, like masks or wipes or medical supplies or whatever we need to survive as a nation, right? Or et cetera and so forth. So I think manufacturing actually is standing to do well in this time. I'm actually relatively bullish on that. So towns that are close to manufacturing, if those I guess those manufacturing plants could be retooled or used in a capacity to help with the current disaster that's going on or pandemic, I think that they would do very well. And so there would be tons of employment and investment in that local area, a lot of overtime in that area to drive things. If you live in a logistics heavy place where there's a lot of shipping and things like that, then your area could do well. I don't actually know the demographics for Detroit specifically. My view on the Orlando market, like in the United States and Florida, is like tourist areas like that will eventually be hit, and I think we will see some sell-off. But at the same time, we're seeing this downward pressure on the price of real estate and the price of everything, really, because of uncertainty, right? And that's driving things down in a big way. Then we're going to see a downward pressure from decrease in GDP. So when you shut everything down, what happens is GDP drops, right? We just don't produce as much as a nation. A lot of people aren't working, so there's less services produced, less goods and exchanged, right? Less consumption in the economy, less investment in the economy. So overall, it's just a net drag on the economy. You're going to see a lot of contraction. Now, I think the hype and the fear is overblown. I think that things will probably, within the next 4 to 6 weeks, will recover back to what they were. But in the meantime, people are very, very bearish, right? And uncertainty leads to bearish times, right? So we're seeing a downward pressure from the uncertainty. We're seeing a downward pressure. Well, we will see a downward pressure from the GDP contractions of the economy on real estate, on businesses in general. And so we're going to see a bit of a downward pressure there. But the Fed has jumped in and thrown in a ton of quantitative easing, a ton of funding like money into the market, right? So when they reduce interest rates, they're basically telling the banks to lend money to businesses and help everything grow, right? So they're throwing a ton of money into the pot, and that lower interest rate gives us, if the banks pass it on to us, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, because the Bank of Canada dropped interest rates, and the big five banks here in Canada didn't pass that on to us. In fact, they're raising rates. If you're watching, the response to the Bank of Canada dropping rates, the Canadian big five banks are raising interest rates, RBC and Scotiabank. So lock in rates while you can. They're actually raising rates because they're actually overcommitted on the funds that they have, and no one wants to put money in a savings account right now in their bank because it's paying almost nothing, right? So there's a lack of liquidity in the banks right now here in Canada and probably all around the world. As interest rates drop, the spread has to drop so the bank can make money. And so what you're actually seeing is some banks are tightening up. There are banks like HSBC that is actually trying to buy the business of the other big five banks, and they're jumping in with these really crazy promotions like a 1.84 5-year variable mortgage. I'm gonna snap that one up probably, pro tip. That's a great mortgage rate. But there are lots of banks that are going up to like from 2.67 to like 3.19. They're jumping up. And it's crazy and they're citing, hey, the bond market's got an inverse yield curve right now. The cost of funds is just really high. Our stock prices will be up 30-40%. There just is no money in the market right now to lend. And so despite the government trying to lower interest rates and force everyone to borrow, there's no money. The banks don't have the liquidity to actually meet all of those commitments. So they're trying to tighten up and basically charge more interest to have a greater spread. So that's what I didn't expect to happen. Last week when I talked about the Bank of Canada dropping interest rates further, I didn't expect that a few of the banks would be overexposed to things like energy lending and oil, which is I think part of the piece of why they have lack of liquidity. And there's also an overexposure, I think, in just the fact that when there's uncertainty like this, everyone pulls their money out of the bank, right? So just think that through logically. If you have money in a savings account that's making 1%, and now it's making, after the Fed cuts all the interest rates, like 0.2%, right? Because everyone's cutting their savings rates. Investors aren't making any money. There's no money from the GICs. There's no money from the savings account. So you're pulling your money out, and you're probably flocking to like gold or silver. That's very safe in these times, right? That it transcends, monetary policy, right? Gold is it's a good store of value, right? So no matter what happens with the fiat currencies, gold has value. Land, real estate has value. Despite what the fiat currencies do, if they print more money to try to basically create quantitative easing, they just print a ton of money. They increase the money supply. That's going to have effects on the economy, and the fiat currencies are going to move. But land, assuming the nation is still desirable to live in, holds its value, same way as gold holds its value despite the country you live in. And so people are flocking to those resources, or those, I guess, not really commodity. I don't really call land. I guess land's kind of a commodity, but there's just so much differentiation in land that I wouldn't really call it a commodity like I would like gold or copper or something. But anyway, the point I was trying to make is it's just crazy. If you think through all these things, there's so many things happening at once that there's just a lot going on. And there's so many different people making irrational decisions. And every time you have a thought, I just want to throw something out there because before I get to the Q&A here, whenever you have a thought, it sends an emotional response to your body. Chemicals are released. If you close your eyes and you think about a happy place or a happy time, you release positive endorphins into your body. You'll feel better. If you're watching on all the media outlets everywhere, scary, fearful type, propaganda or whatever, because, the media, they make money on views and people click at a higher rate on negative news. I don't know why, it's just like the way the human brain is wired, I guess. They are peddling a lot of dramatic stuff right now, and it's mostly negative. So if you're watching a lot of that, you're going to have some negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts, guess what? When a lot of people are having a lot of negative thoughts, and there's a lot of uncertainty, people are not bullish on any investment, period. People don't want to spend. They don't want to invest. And that's bad for an economy in general. Hands down, across the world right now, there is a fear in the hearts of investors. People who have been through the 2008 recession are feeling those same fears. I just started investing around that time, so I didn't really invest in the recession. I didn't have any money. If you go back like 12 years ago, I didn't have any money, so I wasn't able to really invest or take advantage of, but I watched what happened, right? And I got to study a bit of that. People are looking back to like the last, oil crisis in the 70s and the interest rates in the 80s, and people are thinking back to those times and they get fearful. They think this is going to happen again. The human brain gets illogical, gets irrational. And that irrational, I guess, fear, that drives us to new lows, which means I don't know what the bottom is going to be. I can't call it. I don't know. We could see another 20% pullback yet. We could see stocks valued at certain sectors valued at 2002 pricing. I don't know. We could hit the highs of the bubble before 2007, right? We could have a huge pullback. We have the biggest bull market ever the last 12 years, the longest run of the market up. We could have the biggest recession we've ever seen. I don't know. It's possible. Do I think that it's... I don't think this short-term panic and the short-term contraction of GDP because of this virus and the oil prices is enough to keep us down for long. So I think it might be short-lived. I think it might be a year or two. It's not going to be like massive. What we do know is that the data speaks that we have always recovered from a recession in about 2 or 3 years. So from the bottoms to recovery, it's typically like 3-4 years on average, right? Some stocks take a lot longer to recover, but on average in the market. What we know is that 5 years from now, if you bought stock today, or you bought like a collection of stocks, because then you're diversified and you're protected, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be actually probably doing really, really well. So anyway, that was my sort of tangent. I know I went all around the place and I probably left a few pieces that I need to go pick up at some point. But yeah, you guys can bring me back in. Bring me back in to whatever topic you want me to talk about, and I'll dive deep there. But my high-level assessment is that I think short-term we're going to see some major, I guess, stock equity fluctuations. We are not going to see major real estate fluctuations yet, but I think that it's possible in the coming 6 months. The ramifications on the economy today will be felt in 6 or 8 months in the real estate market. So there's a bit of a delay there typically from what we see. That said, the pressure of low interest rates is enticing investors like myself to lever up. I want to buy more right now because debt is so cheap. I can cash flow so well. Someone just popped up, do you have toilet paper in Canada? The answer is pretty much no. Most of the stores are sold out of toilet paper, which makes no sense to me because I have adjustable shower head. Like I have a pull-off shower head, I have a main rain shower head and then a pull-off shower head in all of my showers. So I feel like toilet paper is like the least necessity thing that you have. It just makes no sense to me. I get the hand sanitizer. I get that people are stocking up on like canned goods and stuff, and that's getting depleted pretty quick. But the toilet paper doesn't make any sense to me. Like that's just, you don't even need toilet paper. Just install like a bidet and like, oh no, your end of days is all good. The toilet paper thing is crazy to me. That makes no sense at all. Why people are hoarding that. But yes, we were also feeling the exact same effects. The borders are closed in many countries across the world right now, so travel is extremely limited. There are a number of developments right now that are having impacts on our economy, so let's discuss what those are. But I think at a high level, let's not forget that if you are working, if you have a job right now, and you're able to keep working, and this is an opportunity to be home and to save because things are mostly closed, you have an opportunity to save money. And the difference you can save now is going to be there to invest. And every dollar you invest right now is definitely going to be worth $2 in 5 years. So what we know right now is like bank stocks, for instance, the big five bank stocks, which are being slammed right now, or like the utility sectors. There's a lot of companies in the utility sector that I don't think even like there's a lot of companies that just resell resources like natural gas or things like that. And those companies I think have very, very steady revenues. They sell the stuff to the consumer and then be up 30-40%, and the revenue is not going to be affected hardly at all. Those are buys. Some of them are yielding 8-9%. Blue chip companies, blue chip stocks that are yielding 8 and 9%, like paying you 8 or 9% dividend yield plus another percentage, could have a 30 or 40% upswing. I'm going to set up private banking myself. There's some opportunities in the private banking sector where I can invest $1 million in stocks and borrow back 700,000 of it, 70% loan to value in the private banking sector, where I can buy stock and then borrow the money back. So it's all just like leveraged stock investing at like 3 or 4%. So that's attractive to me. That's something I'm going to do to get investing in stocks. I want to lever up because then my return isn't just 40% upside, it's like 80%, right? And when it's levered at like 4% cost of debt, the dividends are more than servicing the debt for me. So I have no carrying cost at all. And now I have like double the stock. So I'm basically getting bullish in that way. But and we'll talk a little bit about some stocks that I like. They just kind of, for a second there, mentioned a couple of industries that I like. I think the Canadian banks are doing really well right now. If you have American currency right now too, the Canadian dollar is extremely beat up. If you're watching my Instagram stories at Mike Rosehart, which I post like 6 to 8 times a day and will continue to post 6 to 8 times a day, mostly because I have an addiction to Instagram. It's bad. It's bad. Where I was converting currency from USD to Canadian at $1.29, I'm now converting at $1.44. So if you have any debt in USD, or you have, I just bought a property and I have to convert Canadian to USD theoretically to buy a property. I'm just thinking out loud. Like if I had to do that, that'd be very, very bad, make it very expensive. So in markets where there are a lot of snowbird investors, like in Arizona or in Orlando, the price of real estate just went way up for investors like us, investors from the UK, investors from Canada. We come over there and it's bad. People, and you're gonna ask why. So the quick answer is, and there's a lot of things playing into the currency pressures right now. One, the Canadian dollar is less valuable. Our GDP is contracting in a big way. We are heavily reliant on oil and a number of other factors that drive our economy. So the US dollar is also, at the same time as the Canadian dollar is becoming less and less valuable, the US dollar is becoming more and more valuable. A lot of countries use the US dollar as like an international standard. I don't know why that is, but like people just feel the US dollar is a safe place to store their currency, or a safe place to store their money. It's like how some people just buy gold. Some countries, their currency is destabilized, right? Think of like Argentina or something. You'd rather hold US dollar because it's stable. Remember, the US is a large army. And so they have a default, they just go to war, right? And find a way to protect the value of their dollar, right? So a lot of people flock to the US dollar, especially in times of recession, now more than ever. So people are flocking to the US dollar. It's probably not a great time to be converting to USD because everyone else is doing that. Do what other people aren't doing. If everyone is flocking to gold, don't flock to gold. If everyone's flocking to USD currency, probably don't do it. If you follow the herd, then you will get slaughtered with the herd. That's the age-old saying, right? So do what others aren't doing. When everyone's selling, you should probably be buying. When everyone else is buying, you should probably be selling. That said, there are exceptions to every rule, and if you own companies that you believe in, or you own real estate that has solid positive cash flow, who cares about the price volatility? What I know for certain is that 5 or 10 or 20 years from now, your properties will be worth a lot more than they were worth now, even at the bottoms of the market, even at the tops of the market. Time heals all wounds if you're diversified. If you own cash flowing real estate, you're all good. And by the way, for the 86 people that were just on this live stream, smash the like button, I'd appreciate it. And thank you all for joining me on the live stream. If you have a question, jump in the comments, say hi, jump in with a comment. Let's go down and do some live Q&A before I go back to beating the horse dead about how to spend less money right now more than ever. Stop your frivolous spending. I was gonna get a swim spa, hot tub, pool all in one. I'm not gonna do that. Take the money, put it in stocks. If you're thinking about that trip, you can't travel anyway because there's probably a travel ban. But take the money, put it in stocks or real estate. Lever up, invest that money. Now is the time to work too, by the way. I know that some plumbers and some electricians and some, whatever your profession is right now, people who are working are making overtime and they're making a lot of money. When no one else wants to work and you work, you can make a lot of money. So if you have high value skills, right now you could use them to make a lot of money. Work more, spend less, work more to earn more, and then maximize the returns and the difference by investing right now in these equity markets that are being destroyed. Take opportunities to invest in real estate because there might be less competition for property. You can still get good cash flow. Interest rates are lower than they've ever been. Not ever been, but like than they've been in the last 5 to 7 years. So we're seeing those like 2008 type interest rates, which is fantastic. As a real estate investor, as someone who buys businesses and tries to turn them around, I love to lever up and buy businesses. I love to lever up and buy real estate. It's a good time for all of us. It is a time of opportunity. More people will make millions than they ever have before. We're going to see a really good recovery, I think, in the next 10 years going after this recession. So I'm long-term bullish still. Now we go to the Q&A, and I'll jump back and forth again. There's a lot of comments here. Look at everyone's doing stuff here. I like it. Patel says, it is fine. Everyone says it's good. They can see the video. Okay, I'm going from that point onwards. Hi, Mike. I have a question regarding rental properties. I've researched the regulations. It looks like student rentals isn't allowed unless the owner lives in the property. Julian, it depends on your area. My overall understanding is that certain municipalities are pro or not pro student rental. My area in London, student rental. In London, Ontario, you can do student rentals all day. There's nowhere you can't do student rentals in London, Ontario. People have these myths that you can't do it. There is a limit of 5 bedrooms unless grandfathered. I have properties that have grandfathered licensing for 10 and 11 bedrooms each. In those types of properties, I have licensing for 11 bedrooms because they always allowed it. The house was a huge house. It had 11 bedrooms in it. And they still allow it today because it's grandfathered. So a lot of properties are grandfathered. Buy one that's grandfathered and it will continue to be allowed. There are also like rooming houses and stuff. I don't get into much rooming houses, but the idea is that if you buy property that cash flows, you'll be just fine. So even in a recession, even right now, student rentals are great. I think long term, once this coronavirus thing passes, we find a vaccine for it, or people realize it's not that bad, or we develop some sort of resistances to it. I'm sure that the second time that you get the coronavirus, and by the way, you can get it more than once. You can get the virus, recover fully, and then catch it again, a mutated version of it. So we know people are testing positive a second time for it. I don't know if you know that, if you've been following on social media. That's like, I know, week old news, but just in case you didn't know, you can get coronavirus again once you've had it once. Now, I don't know that, like, you can get chickenpox more than once too over your life and things like that. So some viruses, it could just be that this virus, and it's not even that bad of a virus, to be honest. Like, it's so overhyped. If you inject me with corona right now, I'm still gonna buy real estate and stocks. I'll probably still do my weekly show. I'll be a little sick, but like, I would still do the show. Because guess what? It's not going to kill me. It hasn't killed anyone healthy under the age of 29. No one. 0 healthy people with no pre-existing medical conditions under the age of 30 have died. Every person, and I challenge you right now, I could be wrong, but I challenge you on Instagram, I'm like Rosehart, to send me someone who didn't have a pre-existing medical condition, someone who had a pre-existing medical condition and probably died, but someone who didn't have one and died. Send me someone that has passed away from the coronavirus without a pre-existing medical condition. And we know that young children, they're passing it on, but they aren't getting really sick at all. There's some kids who are getting it and showing almost no symptoms, like just not even really getting sick from it. So it's a virus that really does affect old generation. So if you do have elderly parents, stay away from your parents. Isolate yourself. Don't go into quarantine with your 65-year-old parents and infect them, or your 7-year-old parents. Don't do that. Don't go visit Granny right now. Probably not a good idea. You can infect her. You could have symptoms for 3 weeks, right? So you could be sick and infected for 2 weeks and not show any symptoms. So just like isolate your contacts, wash your hands, don't like share air with people. Be smart, be safe, invest for the future, because the future will move on with or without you. The markets will move on. This is a chance to make money, but the world's going to turn back to how it was before. It'll be a different world, but the world will move on. And humans are smart and capable and adaptive, and we will be just fine. Even if this was affecting, even if people were, I don't know, even if millions of people were dying, and like millions of people aren't dying, but even if millions of people were dying, that's such a small percentage of the 7 billion people on this planet and counting, right? Like millions of people dying from this isn't even a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but like not to the, excuse me, Corona. My throat's just killing me. I need some water. Even if there was millions of people who were dying from this, that's still so minor and wouldn't even affect like our civilization in the long term, right? Like we've survived these types of things before. We have medical advances that make it such that we will be just fine as a nation. I'm extremely bullish, extremely confident in our ability to recover from the recession. Plant your seeds today so they grow into a nice little tree tomorrow. Because guess what? Every dollar you invest now is going to be a huge, huge boon to your retirement strategy. Okay, next question. Finally catching the show. I'm glad you're catching this show. That's awesome. So you mentioned a question there before. It was a Benefitness Studio. Can you tell us how these mortgage deferrals are going to work? So my understanding is it's on a case-by-case basis. You have to call in and wait 3 hours on hold and basically fight with them and plead your case for the right to defer your mortgage. And by the way, they're going to charge you interest on that deferral. So you delay paying, but you still have to pay all the interest. So that's the big win. If you have a liquidity issue, it'd be great. I'm not even calling in. All my mortgages, I'm just going to pay them. I keep cash reserves. I have lines of credits and things set up for this scenario. I keep 1% of my property values set aside. I'm ready for this. I've been talking about being ready for this for a long time. Keep cash reserves for all of your properties in the forms of lines of credit that you can draw into if you ever need to. I fully plan to continue to pay all my mortgages throughout this time. I fully plan to be through this with the cash reserves that I have, and you should too. Investing in real estate, you need to keep a bit of liquidity. You need to keep those cash reserves around. It's very, very important, I think, at the end of the day, to plan for the future, plan to fail. Sorry, what is it? What's the saying? It's those that fail to plan to fail. So if you're not planning, if you're failing to plan, then you're going to fail. So have a plan A, have a plan B, have a plan C. But the way it works basically is you can phone in and fight with the big five or six banks, and someone just jumped in. It's a 36-year-old without any comorbidity passed away of COVID-19. There you go. So someone who's 36 passed away. Something to think about. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but what we know is that by and large, the majority of people that get the virus and die are old or pre-existing medical conditions. There might be like 1 in 100,000 or something that are healthy that die. And there's probably something else going on there, why they died, and like, are they actually healthy? Maybe, by the way, being obese, as an example, or being a smoker, that puts you at high risk. If you smoke, cigarettes, whatever, failing to plan is planning to fail. Yeah, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. What the idea behind that is if you don't plan, you're basically asking to fail. So plan ahead, because if you didn't, you're asking to fail. It's an age-old saying I've always loved. I do think that by and large we'll be fine. I think that, overall, I'm very optimistic. I'm very confident that we'll make a recovery. The big ones are lung disease, heart disease, and immunodeficiencies. There you go. So yeah, if you haven't been sleeping well, if you're obese, if you smoke, all those things are higher risk factors, right? We know that. That's a fact for, having complications with the virus. But that's true of any sickness that you get, the common cold. If you have those pre-existing conditions, guess what? It might kill you, the common cold. So does that mean you don't leave your house, you don't produce any economic value, and you limit yourself to like hiding away? People have been exposing themselves for years, and there's been tons of viruses, and we've all, by and large, been fine. Is it a reason to, end the world? I don't think so. Okay, so we are entering into recession territory. It's a great point someone just put up there. Next question. My throat's killing me, guys. I'm gonna sit closer to the microphone because it's been a while since I've been shaving clean. I just so happened that today I was at the bank and I had a nice little dress shirt on. It worked out nice that actually today I happened to be dressed, not like a bum. Usually I dress like a bum because, I'm rich, so. Kidding. I think that it's just more comfortable to dress how you want to dress, and I don't feel comfortable in a suit, so that's why I don't wear a suit. Hey, Mike, I have a question regarding student rental properties. We did that question. So next one, do you have anything to say about it, any ways around it? So you could just always rent it in one lease. If you rent to someone, like what I know is that in Canada, you cannot discriminate based on whether a tenant is a student or not. So you wouldn't be able to reject a student, you wouldn't be able to reject a tenant because they're a student. So often what these municipal regulations not in my city, but I've heard in other cities, these regulations against student rentals, they're typically targeting by the bedroom student rentals. If you rent it to a group, as in like 1 or 2 people on the lease, and then they sublet it to their friends, you're not in trouble. You rent it to one person or one like couple, and they brought in a few of their student friends, you get around the legislation, you'd be just fine. Because you're on they've signed a long-term lease with you. So hopefully that, okay. Whoa, there's so many questions here. Jeez, look at the panic. I'm gonna get to all this in a second. You're right about all this. Spend less, earn more, and maximize returns. It's a fresh start. I read a good post about that on social media actually very recently about the fresh start thing. Love that, by the way, that this is an opportunity. The post, I don't know if it's true, was saying things like deer are roaming free in like the streets of Japan, the rivers and like Italy and all these countries are clean and the streets are like calm, the air pollution is lower than it's ever been, and blah blah stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. That's a side benefit of all this. People are spending more time with their families. People are getting caught up in their lives because we all live such busy lives, and the environment is doing better because people aren't out there driving around as much. We're all kind of isolated, and people are becoming more self-reliant, which is good. I like it when people produce their own things that they need to survive. We don't need a cleaner to come clean our house. We don't need all of these things that we think that we need. We'd actually be just fine without a lot of the necessity, without a lot of these frills. All we need is the necessities, and so even that we can produce for ourselves. You'd be surprised how good and adaptable humans are at surviving. So I believe in the human race. I think that there is some value to that. There's some merit to some of those points about getting back to our roots and being less wasteful and more more of a Renaissance men or women. And those types of people know how to survive. They know how to take care of things and not to waste things. Next question. Oil's at $20 a barrel. Damn! $20 a barrel. Someone was calling, I think last week's like we could go as low as 25 a barrel. So 20 a barrel is definitely not good for the Canadian economy. Just as a random aside, the Canadian oil sands where they extract the oil from the sand, I'm pretty sure most companies are in like the $40 to $50 a barrel cost to pull the oil out. So you can imagine that every barrel they pull out of the ground right now is costing them $25 or $30. That's scary. When your cost to produce is that high, you go bankrupt. The only reason you're still open as a company is, I guess, you're hoping for oil prices to rebound. That's basically it. You're probably better to shut down, preserve cash, and buy options for the oil to rebound than to keep operating. That's scary. It's tough for any nation that produces a lot of oil. It's hard times for their economy. So Canada is definitely hurt. It's part of why we've seen the currency, destabilizing a bit here. But we'll move on. Canada is rich for other natural resources as well. We're going to be just fine. Hey, Gail. Hi, Mike. How are you and the family doing? I just saw that pop up and thought I would address it real quick. My family is good. My daughter has a common cold right now, but she is totally fine. My other daughter has caught the common cold. She is totally fine. I am completely healthy. So far as I know, I don't have any cold at all. And my wife walking around back there is healthy as well. She hasn't really caught anything. We have, that said though, we have been taking a very active approach to an antiviral type of regime. So for instance, I eat minced garlic 4 times a day. Don't smell my breath right now. And then I'm like having 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C. I'm doing ginger. I'm doing all the high vitamin C type foods. But big thing is honey. You gotta be coating your throat with honey. I typically do the ginger first. So I'll do like the chopped up ginger. Then I'll do the chopped up garlic, which is great for your health. Let it sit under your tongue for a minute and swallow. This type of, it's like an antiviral, antiseptic. Just being healthy, like I've been trying to, last night was an exception. I didn't sleep that well. I got about 7 hours sleep. But I'm gonna go have a nap tonight and then sleep like a good night's sleep, probably 9 hours. But if you're eating a lot of garlic, there are people, like I have an aunt who's a naturopathic type doctor, and she swears you can't get a virus. Like, she's never been sick. Like, people will cough in her face and she'll recover in 1 day because of the types of things that she takes. Things like colloidal silver, by the way, great thing to take. Very antiseptic. It'll kill anything before it even has a chance to really grow. And there's still low enough counts that you aren't sick yet, right? You don't even know you're sick. You can kill that if you're constantly drinking those types of antiseptic things and having a lot of that in your body. Those are natural antiviral fighters. Here's the thing. Doctors can only prescribe medications and antibiotics that fight bacteria. Bacteria can be a result, like bacterial infections and things can be a result of viral infections, but viral infections themselves, there's not any medication that can really treat viruses. Corona is a virus, right? So how do you fight the COVID-19? Take antiviral type healthy supplements and you probably won't get sick. I've cured myself of like terrible colds in like 24 hours by taking the right types of food. So eating clean and then eating all these types of foods, even if you got corona like cough in your face, you might recover. And I don't know if the science backs that up because again, it's a bit of a you know, there's no money in it. There's just no money in studying, garlic and ginger and the health benefits of all those things, and honey and all those types of things, like there is in medication. So I don't know. I don't want to get into down conspiracy rabbit holes and things like that with big pharma, but I don't know. I believe in it, and it's working for me and my family. So my family is good. Thank you for asking. I think, we miss obviously being able to go out to some of the things my kids used to love going to play groups and stuff. There's a lot of free ones in the city, in the library. All that stuff is shut down right now. So they're cooped up in the house, and that part's not great. But we've been loving the time together. I'm using the time, I'm pretty much still working. Let's be honest. I'm going around my properties, and I'm not really having a lot of interaction with people. I'm on the phone a lot, just like most of the stuff's on the phone. But I'm still being productive. I'm trying to refinance all my properties and get liquidity. That's what's up with me. I'm trying to get money out of the equity of my properties so I can invest in equities. The money's sitting in my properties and doing a whole lot for me, and I need to practice a lot of what I preach around refinancing my properties and putting that good debt to work. But thank you for asking. Okay, going back up and hitting the questions. If you're still watching, I promise I'm gonna try to get to your question as best I can. We're at the 51-minute mark, which means I probably, and by the way, if my internet is terrible, I'm sorry for that. Again, I have the crappy Bell internet right now and it needs to be upgraded. Once I get off this call tonight, I'm gonna call Bell and complain that they didn't send their technician. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with the coronavirus, and that's probably why they didn't send anyone out today, but it is extremely frustrating that my internet hasn't been that great. USD is now worth $1.44 Canadian. It is crazy. Where was that? $1.29, it's now $1.44. That's a 15% loss in the value of the Canadian dollar. That hurts my net worth. Why use a mortgage broker if websites like RateSpy exist? Can't I just directly contact the lender with the cheapest rate and skip the broker? Harriet, yes and no. Often what you'll see, and you go on ratespy.com, is that the brokers, I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but no, I'm not going to call anyone out specifically, but you'll go on there and see HSBC has really great rates right now. And Telemortgage or CanWise or Butler on ratespy.com right now, or .ca, it's .com. Those brokers are able to get you the best rates right now. And what you're seeing is the big five banks aren't typically up there. Even the credit unions right now are not really up there with those great rates. But yeah, if their websites like that exist, you contact that lender directly. Often the lender that's best on those websites is a broker. So broker channel is fantastic. Not only is the rate better with a broker, by and large, but the terms are typically better through a broker as well. They can get you more competitive products. That said, sometimes qualifying is easier through a mobile specialist at Scotiabank or RBC or something like that. A dedicated guy who has their own underwriter, not a person sitting in the branch. Stay away from that, by and large. There are exceptions to that rule, of course. There are some really great people in the branch you can reach out to, but 9 out of 10 aren't as competitive or as good. Great questions. Next question. Assisted senior living housing stocks seem good with boomer demographics. Liam, interestingly, we're seeing a lot of the people who are in those old age assisted living houses, the ones who have money, are reaching out on Airbnb, believe it or not, and saying, hey, can we rent this house and isolate 2 seniors there who have money, who don't want to be in a breeding ground for coronavirus that's killing everyone. So if you're old right now, you don't want to be in assisted living because your probability of dying is pretty high. Obviously, still relatively low risk overall, but we're talking probably a 1 or 2%, very, very low, which 1 in 100 is super, super low chance of it happening, but still obviously a lot higher than something happening to someone my age, right? So there is obviously something to that to be said. I think that there's going to be a lot in the medical sector that's going to do really well because of the sickness and the result of after you get the coronavirus and survive. There are often complications that will follow, especially if you're old. So yeah, I don't want to say there's profit to be made there because that's kind of evil. It's not really somewhere I'd want to invest, but if you can help the sector, if you have a solution or an innovative idea to start a business to help people, do that. Now's a good time to do that. You make good money. Don't be that person. Straight up, don't be that person who's hoarding toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Don't be that person to resell on Amazon. I'm all for hustle, and I respect people who are in business in general. So I will say that, like, even if you're reselling hand sanitizer, I still respect the business hustle. But man, cut people a break a little bit, especially people in need. If you have 10,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, I'm hurrying in your garage. I do bath time with my daughter, so I gotta go soon. But I'll give you the hour. I promise to give everyone the hour. I'll give you the hour. If you have 10,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, frick, mark it up on sell it on Amazon. I don't care, at 400%. Make a profit on the average person can afford to pay you the extra. You deserve it. You got smart and you capitalized on this opportunity. You're making a big business out of it. But tell you what, donate like a quarter of your profits, or like donate some of the hand sanitizer you actually have to like hospitals and local clinics to keep them open. Give good with the bad. If you're taking advantage and capitalizing on this, I actually don't care. I don't judge. Whatever. I'm a capitalist through and through. I think if you can make money, cool. But I definitely think you should give back in some way. This is an opportunity. If you're making some profit off some people who obviously can afford to pay for the hand sanitizer, pay more for the hand sanitizer, give back to local clinics, the local hospitals, the local community old age centers and things like that need this stuff right now, that can't even get a hold of it right now. So give back to people. Don't be greedy. I feel you're paying with the garlic bread. 2 cloves a day. There you go. Keep yourself healthy. Don't forget to get fresh air, everyone. Yes, fresh air is important. If you're gonna go for walks, go get a couple friends to go for walks and stand 1 meter apart and go for a walk. It's all fresh air. You're not gonna get sick. Don't touch anything. Wash your hands and get back just in case. But yeah, get a lot of fresh air. It's really good for your health. Great advice overall, along with getting good exercise and eating well. I have 14 SFR that I own outright. Would you leverage them if you were me? Adam, congratulations. You own 14 single family homes. That's awesome. Yes, I would lever them. Yes, I would go get money at like 3% cost of debt and invest that in the stock market right now, where you get 8 or 9% yield plus maybe 30 or 40% in appreciation. Or take the 14 properties you have at 20% down and buy 70 properties, because 14 properties paid down is like the equivalent of like 60 or 70 properties at 20% down. So you can expand your portfolio right now, man, and you could be hugely wealthy in like 5 years' time. So yeah, don't buy properties outright. That doesn't make sense. Lever up. The best thing about real estate, the only thing that I really love about real estate, and the only reason I invest in real estate, is because I can buy with 20% down an asset that cash flows positive and self-services the debt. If I had to buy real estate in cash, I wouldn't buy any real estate. I have no interest in real estate buying it in cash. You have to have leverage at some point to make it profitable and make it, you can make profit, but to make it really actually more profitable than what you're seeing in the stock market, right? Levered returns, 5-to-1, self-serviced, by the renters. That's the best. That's the bee's knees. That's what I love about real estate. Do you manage your own stocks or professional route? So James, I manage my own stocks right now. I'm going into private banking and getting them to manage my stuff. I just had a meeting with the Scotia One Tower with someone who's going to be taking over my portfolio, only because I don't have the energy or the time. I know, I hear you every time. I'm coming. Yeah, it's going to come soon, I know. Yeah, so I just don't have the time or the energy to put stop losses in and to watch everything. I'm not trading actively. I'd rather hand a lot of what I have off and have someone else watch that for me. They're in tune with the market in ways that I can't be. But at the same time, I'm going to control the real estate that I'm buying. I'm not going to actually manage it because I don't want to manage property. Managing property is low value compared to what I could be doing with my time. So love the honey idea. Euthanasia is a great idea. Echinacea is a great thing to eat. It's healthy. You should definitely be putting that like in some tea or something, or in a smoothie and just eating that up. Ginger tea, I hear green tea is great too. Yeah, you can bake ginger if you can't handle it. There's a ton of stuff that helps with respiratory viruses. The mainstream media does not tell us. Vitamin C, colloidal silver, alpha lipoic acid. I've never had the last part, the acid stuff, but the rest of that, definitely I'm all over that. The media just isn't talking about how to fight viruses. And guess what? There are ways to fight viruses, and it's not anything that the pharmacy can sell you. So, well, I guess the pharmacy could probably sell vitamin C, but yeah, we can fight viruses. There are ways to do it. And yeah, you could probably cure yourself of corona by eating the right foods if you caught it early enough. So start your regime now. Can you summarize how to buy a home on the MLS without a realtor? You can't buy a home on the MLS without a realtor. You have to go through a brokerage or go through some, like there are brokerages you can use that will help you to buy and they'll take the commission on the buyer's side and give some of it back to you in the US and in Canada. But if a property is listed with a realtor, there's a realtor involved. So the only way, you can't go direct on the MLS if there's an agent that's signed to sell the property. So C is good, D is better. Vitamin D is fantastic. Go get some sunshine outside on your skin. Have some vitamin D supplements. Time to go. Us old guys need to sleep. There you go. Gold is being sheltered, smeltered up, and down. Why? Gold is going down, shelter, smelter up, and down. I don't know what you're... So gold is a store of value, so long-term gold should be fine. We've seen a lot of growth in gold. I gotta end this call. My wife just keeps tapping on the door. She really wants me to end it and wrap it up. It's been a great stream, by the way, and if you're watching the replay, I know I talk fast, so put it on 0.75 times speed if you want to slow it down a little bit. Make some notes. Think about some of the ideas that I might have planted, some of the seeds I might have planted that aren't fully thought out, but just ramblings of I guess I'm just a guy. But I'm an Ivy grad, and I've done pretty well myself. So if you want to listen to what I'm saying, cool. Get serious complications. If you recover your lungs inside will be the equivalent of a burned rubber. Boris, I'm not sure how true that is. I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you can recover from the virus and not be like unable to walk. 16 months average turnaround time for event-based crashes. Liam, that's an interesting stat. I have to look that up. I don't know either, but that sounds right. Like most recessions are like 12 to 24 months for recovery before people start to forget and start to invest again. The big ones, we did that one, lung disease. All my money is in stocks and I'm looking at homes. Should I sell to buy a property if I find a good deal or wait for stocks to recover? Harriet, I think that it's good to be balanced and diversified. So I like to have real estate and stocks. I don't think it makes sense to be all in the stock market. I don't think it makes sense to be all in real estate. Though the argument could be made with real estate, you could do levered lending 5-to-1 and make a way better return than you could in the stock market. So by and large, if you're buying the right types of real estate in the right markets, the cash flows well enough with the right amount of leverage, you could outperform in real estate no matter what, like the highest type of return that you can't beat. Other financial channels I watch won't say the name of the virus. Instead, call it the Rona or something like that. Interesting. So that's probably why my channel's been almost demonetized, a couple of my videos. They've been like, my channel's not been pumped at all. So I've said it way too many times. In Canada, we have a basically Home Depot type of store called Rona. So the Rona, there you go. Good tip. 4 years for the market to recuperate if you look at the SARS, HIV, etc. Okay, I don't know. I've heard the beer bug. Huh, smart. Like the virus. Just like the beer. I heard the brand took a huge value hit. Check out the replay, everyone. Stay safe. Just know that no matter what happens over the next little while, there's the little baby in the background. Ariel. Hi, Mike. Self and husband like to buy our first property. Is now a good time? We're going into a time I think that will be a good time to buy. Yes. I'm a non-resident in Canada. Do you think government will provide assistance to people like us? I don't know. Probably not. Trudeau's releasing a ton of stimulus, so that's something that's good. If I missed your question, gas is 71 cents right now in Ontario. It's true. We've seen areas where it was 57 cents a liter, which is pretty great because oil is so low. Garbage time for a contractor, I must say. That said, though, it could be a great time for a contractor. If people are in need of getting properties done to refinance them, that's always something to think about. So private lenders are tightening their lending restrictions more now than ever. Matt Kelly, I'll answer the rest of your question later, but definitely we're seeing that tightening. So rates are not going down. Rates are going up because it's times of instability. So she really wants me to get off this stream, so I gotta go. You're really, really adamant that I have to bring my daughter to bed. So I gotta go, guys. I'll talk to you later. See you all next week. And in the comments on this video, post your comment. If I forgot to answer your question, I'll answer it via text. Thank you, everyone, so much. I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate all the activity and the likes. And as always, the 3 ways to unlock a wealthier you are the same now in a recession and more true now in a recession than ever. Spend less, earn more, and maximize the difference in return. Bye, everyone. Maximize those returns. Take advantage of the stock market right now. Take advantage of the real estate market right now. Lever up a little bit, but remember not to get overexposed where there's not good cash flow or dividend yield. Take care, everyone. Happy Wednesday.